Welcome. Tom Clarry, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
What brings you to the internet today?
I was invited on a podcast and I saw the setup looked dope and saw that it was for cool musicians, and that's what I strive to be. So, yeah.
I think you're definitely a cool musician. We met at the Music Anonymous Jam at Handlebar. I think it was May.
Yes. It was May.
And I think we had a great time on stage. I thought your bass lines were groovy.
Thank you.
Tell me about you being a bass player in music. What does music mean to you? How did it all start?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not from a musical family, and most of my friends aren't really musical either. In middle school, I was forced to play the oboe, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna learn an instrument. This sucks. And then I fell down the like YouTube bass rabbit hole with like Davey 504 and like Charles Bertude and those people, and I thought it was cool, and I asked for a bass for my birthday, my 14th birthday, and then I have been playing ever since, and it's been everything. It's so much fun. I get to meet cool people. I get to create stuff I love. It's just fun.
Amazing. And you're playing in a couple of bands. What kind of music do you like normally play at the moment?
Usually it's like hard rock, that kind of thing. But I also play at my church, so that's a lot of like Christian contemporary music. And I'm also playing a few gigs in June with Sandman for North by Northeast, and that's more indie, more chill kind of stuff. Yeah.
Tell me about your musical training. How did you learn to play music, and how do you approach new music as it comes to you going forward?
I learned through YouTube. I would just learn as many songs as I could, and I did that until I kind of figured out in my own head how to improvise. And then just playing with people helped a lot. And then I remember I was playing at my church, and someone called out a bunch of numbers. And I was like, oh, what is that? And then I was like, oh, I should learn some theory. And then recently I took like a music 101 course. I did a semester of university, and like that was fairly helpful. And then just like learning the fretboard, my scales, keys, and whatnot. I still feel like I'm faking it when someone mentions something theory related, and I'm like, oh, I can kind of recognize what stuff sounds like, but I don't like know how to like use my words to describe it. Yeah. It just kind of happens.
I know. In the process of me learning some of that theory, it almost became irreversible, because now I'm thinking all of the words and not thinking the music at times, and it becomes distracting. So sometimes I wish I didn't learn the theory. And really, it can be very distracting at times. You know, earlier we were talking about some of the issues with schooling in Ontario as it relates to arts and arts education, and I wonder, what is your perception of arts and arts education, whether it's music or other arts, and what are the types of chatters you hear on the bandstand or at venues that you go to, either to play or to see shows? How does that affect? What do you see all that relating to? How does the arts education affect your experience as a music lover and a musician?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I know like a lot of people from a lot of different worlds. Traditionally in the jazz world, if you don't have a music education, then it's like, oh, you didn't go to uni for it? Like it's a little, I've found to be a little snooty. And then it's the exact opposite in like the punk and hardcore world. But I think generally like, if you go to a university for music to hone your craft for 4 years, you're going to end up a better musician than when you went before. I think the idea that like music school kills creativity is kind of overblown. I think it can, but if music school was going to kill your creativity, life was probably going to kill your creativity at some point too. So I think that it's generally a really productive place to be. I think that it can be unwise to go to music school or art school generally, given the current financial situation of how much university costs, how much living costs and stuff, especially because I think about my own training. I've been able to get to be a pretty competent musician without really like having any formal education. So I think that there needs to be like long and hard thought before getting into it, but I don't think it's a bad idea to learn all that stuff. And
Yeah. I mean, what inspires you to be creative?
just kind of like anything. Like I've always been like I've always had trouble focusing. My thoughts kind of just run super fast, and I was like, as a child, I would play in the sandbox for like 8 hours at a time because my thoughts would just occupy me. Like, so it's really anything. Like I look for any and all opportunity to be creative in everything that I do. So it kind of strikes randomly for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned earlier that you like visiting Queen West for the black market vintage.
Oh yeah.
You know, how does I guess fashion or style, intersect with musical taste or musical experiences? To what degree is aesthetics important when it comes to music and the sound?
Well, I mean, like one of my favorite shows ever is I saw Julie at the concert hall, and they're like, I don't know if you know Julie, but they're
I've seen that name around a couple of times,
Yeah.
but not too familiar.
they're like shoegaze, kind of like punky adjacent stuff. Imagine like really fast and loud shoegaze. That's their kind of
Cool.
vibe. And like they were fitted up, like they looked they really looked like they belonged there. And like I feel like it just adds to it. My girlfriend is like a style icon, and I didn't really think too much about it, and then she like explained their style and like how much thought goes into an outfit and stuff, and I was like, damn, I gotta level up. Like yeah, I feel like it plays a bit of a role. A jazz cat will look different than a punk musician, will look different than me. But like I try to dress accordingly.
Right.
Yeah.
I've often thought of dress and attire more of like a work uniform. I've always
Yeah.
been working all the time,
Totally.
so I have black pants and black clothing because usually that's what I would need for work anyway. So my closet's stocked with black material, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I like it or think black is a form of expression. It's more of like a utilitarian approach. So my fashionable statement, if my preference would be like a black and white suit, because it's equally utilitarian as much as it is a fashion statement in my brain. So when I think about clothing or aesthetics or fashion, I've always been thinking more utility. But then the question is a suit the most practical outfit for playing guitar on stage? Not necessarily, So then it becomes a question: at what point does my values, my philosophy intersect with like just enjoying life and expressing and just trying new things?
Yeah.
Tell me about the bands that you've been playing in lately.
Well, I've been playing in like I said, a few groups. Problem Dog is like my band. I write the music and arrange all that stuff. And I've been doing that since high school. Yeah, that project has just been like fun, and that's really the entire vibe of it. We try to make our music fun, our shows fun, like our social media page is like really goofy. I have so much fun with them and performing with them that it's like that's really the main priority. It's kind of the kind of music we make is like hard rock. It dabbles in punk elements and like hardcore elements and softer bedroom pop kind of thing. But yeah, the main focus there is just like music people can move to and like having fun there. In September, I joined Sabio, which is like Johan Loaiza's main project. That's the lead singer and guitarist. And their drummer, James Poyton, has been in that band for like a year. They're so talented. Like I have like had trouble finding musicians that like I can not only improvise with but really click with improvisationally, and like instantly all of their songs came so naturally to me because I liked them so much. And like jamming with them is so much fun. We have a lot of music on the way that's more like kind of Latin infused, really heavy rock. It's
I think one of the latest releases has a similar like Latin vibe to it.
Yeah, Manic Hispanic.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
I thought that was cool because it's kind of like a hard rock take on that bossa nova groove, right? That sort of syncopated bossa nova thing. And it felt pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, Johan's a genius. I'll stand by that forever. I want to tour the world with Sabio. I want to do everything with Sabio. They're so cool. Yeah, and they're like just really nice guys. I feel like it's really rare to find that kind of balance where we're all really good friends and also really into like elevating musically and making stuff we all love. And like, yeah, we all, Johan will usually come with like a skeleton of a song, but he's completely open to James and I bringing ideas as well. And like, it's a really collaborative experience. So yeah, Johan Loaiza is a genius and Sabio is the best band in the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What has been like the reception of your audience when you're playing shows with these bands, and like how might you compare the vibes in the room from one band to the other?
They're really different. Like Sabio has like a much heavier, darker vibe to a lot of the music, and we definitely like have stuff you can like dance to. But a lot of it is more so mosh music, I'd say.
Yeah.
So it's very like we've had it's really dependent on who we've been playing with. Like we played the first show I played with them, which was on September 11th, 2025. We played at Ted's Collision, which is like the smallest bar I think I've ever seen. It's like the dimmest, stickiest bar ever. It's like the perfect dive bar. It's a fantastic vibe in there. We had like this dude, Mayor Macaw, who was this like one-man band opening for us, and he like tap danced and stuff.
Wow.
It was weird in terms of the contrast between him and us. But like I've also played shows like Sabio played like the Horseshoe with bands Gish and Mirage, and those were like more classic rock, Stone Temple Pilots-y kind of vibe, and that was a very like happy atmosphere. And we've also played with like full-on metal bands, so every room is different with them. We're definitely like cultivating our own audience more and more now that we have a much more clear identity. Problem Dog shows tend to be like, and this is no diss to Sabio, but more fun as an audience member, and that literally everyone is dancing and like people know the words and are just like super into having fun more than anything. I don't think the like music is better or anything. I just think that it's a very specific kind of vibe. Yeah, like we did 2 shows with Sabio and Problem Dog together, and it was really funny to see the like Problem Dog audience see the Sabio music, because they liked it and they had a lot of fun. But there were like, I could tell some moments where people were like moshing, and then it got like even heavier, and they were like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's very different.
I'm curious about your perception of being a music lover in those scenes, you know, in those environments, has your experience watching or being a part of live music changed over time? And if so, like what has changed for you?
Absolutely. I remember the first show I went to was seeing Mark Kelso and the Jazz Exiles at the Rex. And that was like, oh my gosh, these guys are so good at their instruments. Like it was ridiculous. But we were like sitting down and like having waiters come to our table periodically. Like it's the Rex, you know. And then after that experience, I went to a metal show at a really like grimy bar, and it was like completely different. That was where I moshed for the first time, and yeah.
Was that the same night?
Nah, it was like a week apart though.
Okay, yeah, pretty recent.
So it was, yeah. I think that when I first started getting into it, I was more into the like scene of it all. In that, if I was at a metal show, I would love to be moshing the whole time and going crazy. And if I was at a jazz show, I'd be doing this. Like, I feel like now that I have my own stronger takes and stuff, and I'm not just going to kind of enjoy, I'm also going to learn. I've become more critical, but I feel like I enjoy really good bands even more now. Like I think there's a band in Toronto, from Toronto, called the OBGMs. They're the best performers ever, and they're so talented with their instruments, and they just find this really cool blend of being so talented and so good at performing that it's just like impossible not to throw yourself into it like 100%.
Yeah.
So it's definitely changed in that I now go kind of as a student, and I like am less easily moved by the music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It seems like you picked up on the situations pretty quickly early on. For example, the jazz folks snapping their fingers, and you know, the metal folks moshing, and you participating in that, sort of picking up on those social cues. You know, what's that experience like, and how has that changed in terms of now as being a student? Because I know you're focused on the music and you're looking at, you know, identifying good bands, but what do you see when it comes to learning about social cues that maybe you're good with, but perhaps your peers may not have been so quick to catch on? Or, you know, what has that been like?
Well, like I feel like it's all really individualistic, especially in more alternative scenes and in rooms full of punks. It's like a very accepted thing that like kind of anything goes with fashion, and kind of the crazier the better, because it's all about expressing yourself as raw as possible, and that's been really, really cool. I found that in spaces that are superficial and like kind of you're expected to behave a certain way, or dress a certain way, or act a certain way as an audience member, I've enjoyed that much less. I've been to a handful of like hardcore shows where like people have been outwardly hostile to those who like don't want to mosh. Wow. Or I've been to like jazz events where I try to talk to a musician, and because I don't have like a big name in the jazz world, they're like outwardly mean. And I think that all that needs to go completely. I love socializing, and I love just like meeting new people, especially in a musical sense, because it's seeing people's creative visions come to life and seeing people's art come to life. And even if I don't personally like that art, oftentimes it's really expressive and it's really important to them, and there's still like so much beauty in that. So I found that like inclusive spaces are kind of my jam, and I've really appreciated all the people who I've met who have been really friendly and really willing to listen, hear new perspectives, and hear my story, because I love hearing theirs. So yeah.
That's amazing. I absolutely agree, and I think one of those accepting people that we've both come across is Griffin. We because we met at that Handlebar Jam. I was only there because Griffin invited me, and I've crossed my paths. I've crossed paths with Griffins through work, but he's such an interesting character.
Oh,
Not just for his fashion, but for his awareness of just different types of people and his ability to musically integrate as well. He's a drummer primarily, but he also plays a lot of other instruments very well, and he plays a lot of different music. And I know he meets a lot of different people as well that continuously informs his acceptance and his ability to, I just with low friction, find themselves in different environments. I'm curious, what about what has your relationship with Griffin has been, and how does that play a role into how does Griffin play a role in inclusive spaces, and what does that mean to you?
Um, that's a great question. I love Griffin so much. He's so funny. I first met Griffin, I think this was in January. Might have been earlier. I don't remember. It was we either met at playing a gig at the Baby G or in Hamilton at Ooey Gooey's. I don't remember which came first. But my first impression was he was playing with his band Big Milk, and they had a giant inflatable cow, and he has cow print on his like drums and Big Milk stickers everywhere, and he had like a construction helmet on with like he was decked out, and he was just a super friendly and talented dude. I think that like the role that he's played for me is just seeing that like people can be immensely talented and immensely creative and also super inclusive and helpful and friendly. It's not kind of one or the other. A lot of the times people think of elite musicians as this like higher echelon of people. But like Griffin is a better drummer than I will probably ever be at bass. That dude is insane at drums. He is probably the best drummer I've ever even like seen live, excluding Larnell.
Yes.
Yeah. But like, yeah, he is kind of the poster child for dudes who are just the best people to be around in the scene, in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does the Music Anonymous Jam mean to you, or other jams? How does inclusivity play a role in a jam? Because I know there's jazz jams, and traditionally they're actually meant to be exclusive. You're supposed to, the expectations around that, there's sort of a set of expectations around that, although nowadays I think it's pretty open and more friendly. But Music's Anonymous Jam that we were at, I thought that was one of a great experience because it was musically open, as well as just having a lot of people that were very friendly in that. The format that was taken in that jam was you continuously play and you tap on the person's shoulder who you want to sub in for on the instrument, so we can keep the music going. I think that format I haven't seen before, other than the listening room jam that I've been to a few times, and those guys, what they're doing do great work as well. But I'm curious, if you can share your experience about the jam or other jams you've been to as well.
Yeah. I have been to Big Fam Jam a handful of times, as well as Musicians Anonymous, and just like jams with friends and whatnot. I think that skill floors have their place. If you are an establishment like the listening room and you're playing super complex music and it's meant to platform professional musicians, then a skill floor absolutely makes sense, because you have this massive hall and this massive space with a full film crew, and they're like kind of dusty atmosphere. It's super cool. A skill floor completely makes sense when your house band has the people that are in their house band. Like, I think that is a really beautiful space where people get to create super complex things, and people get to kind of strut their stuff a bit. I think that the exclusivity there sometimes is taken too far, where if you're not like highly educated or have some kind of clout in the jazz world where you're a nobody, even if you can hang with them in their jam, I think that that's kind of toxic. But the skill floor there makes sense. For Big Fam Jam and Musicians Anonymous and like any experiences I've had with friends, the lack of a skill floor there also creates its own wonderful atmosphere. Like the jam that we were at Handlebar absolutely had a mix of like really experienced musicians, like Jordan Wave on guitar. That guy's
Amazing
something
guitar
else.
player. Yeah.
Yeah. And Griffin, like we said, he's ridiculously good at drums. And just a handful of other musicians who are all so skilled, but also like absolute beginners and people who just like hop on the mic and like freestyle, having never freestyled before.
Yeah.
Like that's just like fun. I totally subscribe to the Victor Wooten music as a language thing. I think that like a place like the Listening Room is a place for novelists, for people who understand every aspect of poetry, every aspect of writing, and every kind of nook and cranny of the language. But you can have great conversation with people who barely speak English, you know, who barely speak the same language as you, because it's all about conveying your emotion and your like what's in your head. So regardless of whether or not you are good at it, doesn't really matter for like an enjoyable, like how enjoyable it is in terms of being at the jam. I think that when you read a book, if it was written by a 5-year-old, it would be a bit harder to read than if it was written by an established author. So that's where like the Listening Room kind of has its place.
Yeah.
But if that 5-year-old is like your niece or nephew, then it kind of makes you smile, you know?
Yeah.
It's all very connected while also having levels to it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your comments on all of that. It had given me a chance to reflect on my experiences in those jams. I've been to Listening Room once and I had a chance to play, and that was the first time I've been there. The perception of others I've asked around or talked about when it comes to jamming there was, yes, I have to be very good, I have to know what I'm doing, and there's sort of this intimidation, this layer of intimidation to play. But I remember when I was there, I just had such a good time that I met some friends in the crowd, and it's like, hey, we used to go to Humber together, or I've seen you play before, and I want to play with you. I heard there's a jam happening. How does that work? And because I was naive and it was my first time there, they said, oh, when you go on, just tap the guy's shoulder and you can ask for the guitar and he'll start playing. I'm like, great. So I did that and I started playing on a tune. I don't think I've ever heard this tune before. It was a Michael Jackson song. I didn't know that there was a Michael Jackson event happening. I was just invited to come and hang out. So I just winged it and it went great and I had a great time. But in the back of my head, I was wondering, where is the intimidation? Where's the grilling? Where's the, kind of that vibe that other people seem to have or seem to know of when it comes to trying to play? And I didn't experience that. And part of that was perhaps my comfort with music in general, but also just my naivety when it comes to, this is such a good time. I want to continue having a good time.
Yeah, totally.
Seems like we're all partying here together. The skill floor in that sense was, in a way was perceived, but at the same time, nobody knew what my skill level was. So I just kind of showed up there and did my thing. I think the added element of like in that environment where there's camera crew and there's a lot of details, a lot of people that put work into that, just added to me the honesty of the event. Because a lot of people come across that event, I think, on Instagram. At least my experience has been on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I'm like, that looks amazing. That looks so cool. You show up in person and it's like, wow, this looks exactly like what I saw on Instagram. It's also still really cool.
Yeah.
There's haze in the space. So I felt honest in terms of everyone's intention, the audience intention, the musician's intentions, but also honest in like my interest in wanting to continue the good vibes. And if that meant getting on stage for a moment to play verse or chorus, then I was going to do that. On the other end of that, perhaps on in the handlebar jam, you mentioned like one analogy was like reading a book written by a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
For one, a book written by a 5-year-old is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Massive, you know? Just thinking about that alone, in terms of celebrating the achievement of completion, I think is another aspect of that, where getting a chance to deliver a creative message, a creative idea on stage with people in that environment. For example, freestyling on the microphone. I ended up doing that as well, because I was inspired to like complete that musical task that was seemingly until somebody else who had perhaps not have intended to do so, but did end up getting on the mic and sharing their words and their raps. I felt inspired to do that afterwards as well, because I was like, oh, I wonder what that feels like to complete that musical task. And it was so fulfilling to bring things to achievements, to achieve things in that jam, rather than thinking of how to fit into this somewhat prestigious, somewhat closed off, intimidation, high caliber, this perception of high caliber musical stakes in a listening room, for example. I think it's all musical fun and a way to connect, but how we connect, it may demand more from ourselves or may demand less from ourselves in different aspects of sociability and musical skills and all that kind of stuff too. So it's nice to know that there is a dynamic, and it's always a chance to grow in every aspect of that.
For sure. Any like negative experience with pretentious musicians? It happens in every musical community, everywhere. Oftentimes, it's more felt in places full of people who are educated in music, just because there's always imposter syndrome, and that kind of increases the more talented your peers are. Like,
it can.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I've never been to the listening room. I have a ton of friends who have, and I've jammed with a lot of musicians who are kind of regulars there. And like they're all either at Humber or about to go to Humber, or Humber graduates, or like York graduates, or Berkeley graduates. Like it's a very like high caliber musicianship, but you're totally right. If you're in a jam space full of people creating enjoyable stuff and you feel relaxed and comfortable in that group, then it's an amazing time. The same way that a no skill floor jam is an amazing time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know we were having a little bit of a chat about, I guess, Humber or music school earlier prior to filming, and I was thinking about that. And in terms of this topic, I think if I were to share a little bit of my experience going into Humber and going out of it, I think what I went into the program with was this apprehension of wondering if I am welcome into the room or if I'm not welcome into the room. And usually that first idea is so stark because you audition to get into the program, right? If you make the audition, then you're welcomed into the room, so to speak, or welcome to the program. But then at the same time, you're still trying to earn your place somewhat mentally, somewhat by marks, there's all these metrics that you're either psychologically or literally trying to achieve. Coming out of it now, I realized that what all those experiences has taught me, besides the musicianship or chances to develop a musicianship in different ways, has been comfort in knowing how to enter a room or to be invited or to invite myself into rooms. And I think the invitation, where if we can give ourselves more open-ended invitations to do things that are calling to us, that are meaningful to us, that invitation is shared amongst many, and it's definitely shared amongst musicians, listeners, and makers all alike, where if we can heed that call in of ourselves, we can share that with others, whether or not we have done that before or if we're doing it for the first time, or we've done it for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my comfort in the listening room was knowing that there was a lot of people, music lovers in particular, but also musicians themselves, who have had many opportunities to I guess get the small talk out of the way, and just worry about the stuff that we all care about, which is making the music or sharing the music one way or another. And I think all those experiences has made me more of a more grounded person. Because when I asked you earlier about the social the social cues, picking up on social cues. I think part of that is also like the musical cues as well as a musician. There's different conventions when it comes to playing with jazz musicians, to classical musicians, to rock musicians. And I think all those play a role in how we approach ourselves and approach the space that we're trying to enter, but also how the music responds to our intentions in that way as well. I'm curious, can you tell me more about this guitar?
Yeah, it was found in my great uncle's closet, and he was like, "Oh, you play guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a look at it." And when I got it, it was like a bow and arrow. Like the strings were about an inch off the fretboard, and the old saddle was cracked. And I don't really know how you crack a saddle on an acoustic guitar. I feel like that's like the part of the guitar that gets the least action. And like the nut on the guitar was like if you loosen the strings, the nut would also come off. Like it wasn't wood glued.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like floating kind of. And one of the tuning pegs just didn't have any tension on it. So it was like, yeah. Anyway, I overhauled it, destrung it, polished everything, oiled the fretboard, lowered the action. It like a lot of the old cheaper Yamaha guitars, their saddles are set, in my opinion, way too high, in that they'll kind of forcibly create this like downward angle in relation to the fretboard. And so I sanded down the bottom of a saddle until it laid a little flatter. And then, yeah, it plays really, really nicely now. I found the trick is Elixir strings. Elixir strings are like, they just play nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have like that coating on it that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And feel. How do you learn to like tackle a project like that? Because for myself, I'm intimidated by acoustic guitars and repairs. I was never very good with woodworking or you know, those final adjustments. If you sand a little bit too low, then you sand it a little too low, and now it's low.
Yeah.
So there's things like that make me feel intimidated to approach a repair job on an acoustic guitar. So yeah, what took you to do that?
In all honesty, I just thought it can't get worse. So I eyeballed it. Like I think I watched like a YouTube tutorial. Shout out YouTube, man. YouTube's been monumental in my music career.
Absolutely.
Like a YouTube tutorial on how to restring an acoustic guitar, and the rest. Like I just had some fretboard oil and some polish and stuff. And I was like, this probably works on an acoustic guitar. And it ended up working out pretty nicely. And it sounds great. Like it's a really lovely sounding guitar when you don't have the like 10-year-old stock strings on it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know so many people who have this exact guitar lying around their house and have like the strings from when they got it 20 years ago, and they're like a deep shade of brown, like yeah, turning green in certain parts.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bass, guitar, do you play any other instruments?
I can kind of fake my way through playing the drums. Not that I've practiced much, but because of how simple Christian contemporary music is, I've played drums at church and at like an overnight camp I worked at a handful of times, because like they're kind of like one of 5 beats and none of them are very complicated. And all the fills are just like boom, 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 like it's very, very easy. So I've played, I honestly think that I've played drums in front of people more than I've played guitar in front of people, despite me being not a drummer at all, just because like drummers are hard to find, I guess. But yeah, like that's kind of the full extent. I'm sure that I could figure out the oboe if it was put back in my hands. Shout out to Mr. Kim, my middle school band teacher. Yeah, both my sisters sing and did choir, so I know my way around like singing harmony and stuff. but that's kind of it. Just guitar, bass, drums. I strive to one day be able to play the piano, but it's like I practice. I feel like I practice my instruments so much. And the other day I realized that I only ever practice set lists.
That for sure.
And I was like, I don't.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's like I'll do like a half-hour warm-up and like run through scales and stuff, and then I'll play through a set list, and I'm like, wow, I just practiced for 2 hours. Like that's like a substantial amount of time, and yeah, one day when I have like time to learn the piano, I want to learn the piano because it's so cool. You just press a button and the note happens.
Yeah.
You can do such cool stuff, especially with like keyboards with all the like faders and fancy effects. That's dope. I think that like being a really good piano player is like the coolest thing ever.
I think it's cool as well because usually when there's a piano laying around in the room, and if you know how to play, you can just casually have a conversation and then just make some music. And it just blows my mind because I guess as a string player, like we have to bring our instrument, we have to plug it in usually, we have to tune up, and then we can make music. But it's never so organic as like just touching furniture, which a piano it seems like people do, you know?
Yeah.
I think having the freedom to do that is so important as well.
Totally.
I've always wanted to play piano for that reason, and I think it's such a good skill to have. But my issue with playing piano, one of the reasons why I've actually started to play guitar, is I had a choice of what comping instrument I wanted to learn, because I knew I wanted to learn a comping instrument, whether it was piano, guitar, or zither. I mean, that's not really a comping instrument, but it was up for grabs for a while. Piano is never really in tune, you know, the thirds especially, and I couldn't not hear that. When I play a chord,
I know
I'm
exactly what you mean.
like those are the notes, but it isn't really the chord. And with the string instrument, you can get it in tune. You can either bend the things if you need to, or have tune in a particular way.
Yeah.
If it's fretless, you have all the control. My first instrument was viola, then I switched to violin. So I think part of that was also just getting used to string instruments and knowing, you know, the vibration and resonance of that instrument and what in tune feels like. So we are going to be playing a song pretty soon. Could you tell me what the song is? Because I haven't heard it about it at all.
It's like a riff that has just kind of been in my head, and I can't place where I've heard it. It's just been like floating around in my head for a while. And like yesterday I wrote lyrics for it. I had like another song that I was thinking of playing, and then I was just thinking about this and settled on it.
Cool.
But yeah, the lyrics are kind of vaguely about grief, and yeah, that's kind of what's been on my mind songwriting wise recently. That and like disdain for the government.
Preach.
Yeah. So it's kind of just like a pleasant little folk song. When I write on acoustic, if it's for like a more chill song, like a song just for me or like just to have in my back pocket, my main inspirations are always like Jack Johnson, Hayden, Hey Nothing, like all those like calm folk singers who just have like magic lyrics. That's what I kind of strive for.
Very nice.
Yeah. Something that I feel really passionate about and that I've kind of noticed is that I'm 19 and I've been in the all ages space from like when I wasn't 19. And like I've noticed that it's like I feel really strongly that the all ages space is like a very present thing. In Toronto, the all ages scene is like, it kind of goes through this like very biblical pattern of like people creating art and having their own spaces and it being really cool, and then it getting infiltrated by predators, and they're hosting shows at bars and bars are shutting them down, and then they find new spaces and new creatives, and then more predators, more people ruining their events. There's been this common aspect to every all ages event, especially recently, of like people will show up drunk and passing out in the bathrooms, and it's been so messy. Um, like, I don't know if you've dealt with that kind of thing at all. Do you like run a lot of your own shows, or have you ever run like all ages
There was a time
shows?
where we did, and
Yeah.
unfortunately we haven't had too many problems, but as an audience member I have been around other problems like that.
Yeah,
More
totally.
like bad behavior, maybe blown up expectations and mismanagement, really. You know, just a lot of, when you're there, it's hard to know who's in charge and how things are being run, what sort of safeguards are in place or not,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now I feel like a decent platform. I feel like I've kind of grown a lot in what I've understood about all ages spaces. And I wanted to share my thoughts on how they're kind of supposed to be run. Safety is always the most important thing. Having people who are trained to administer first aid, to deal with medical emergencies, is so crucial. Because I've been to a handful of shows where people have had seizures, broken limbs, especially in mosh pits. Concussions is so common, and if you like are not immediately taken care of adequately, then you are putting your audience members and you yourself as an audience member is at so much risk. If there's no one around who can actually help, I feel like this is a super overlooked thing in like all ages spaces, where I was like 15 and at a show at like Tale of the Junction, which is another very like divey spot.
I've been there a few times.
Yeah. Oh, what a place. Like someone, this was before I was trained in any of this. Someone broke their finger in a really like gross way. Like it was their thumb and it was like dangling down
Brutal.
there. It sucked. And they just had to deal with it themselves because everyone else was like, ugh. No one was able to be remotely helpful.
Yeah.
And like my thought was like, you are like at so much risk of your thumb being messed up irreparably by by no one here being able to help you. Another safety aspect is dealing with like predators and creepy adults in those spaces. It's unfortunately so common, ridiculously common. Something that I saw when I first started going to shows that I don't really see anymore is age caps. If you are playing a show with all high school bands and all those high school bands are inviting all their high school friends, why is someone who is 30 in this space? They don't need to be. Bring back age caps, not for like everything, but I think that they're generally a smart idea to keep spaces relatively like safer. Another thing is if your events are consistently going really, really wrong, and no matter what you do, people are coming in and messing them up, it is because they recognize your spaces as a place where they can either get away with that, or as a space where it's like they'll meet other people who are doing that kind of thing. If that is the case, stop running events in the same way. I've seen it so much where people try so hard to fix it, and they'll have bag checks, security, and all these things are really, really good. But if you are doing everything you can and things are still going wrong, gotta reevaluate.
You have to.
And a lot of people don't want to reevaluate, and they don't want to be told to reevaluate because they've worked so hard to cultivate this space where artists can thrive. You gotta reevaluate. If it's not safe, it shouldn't be happening. And especially if you're running events in spaces like bars. If like there was an incident at Seascape a while ago where people like stole alcohol from behind the bar, and that's just like, come on, like that's a horrible thing for like to do as an audience member, and it reflects so poorly on the people running the event. And like if that kind of thing is happening at all of your events, you can only do so much to prevent it.
Mm-hmm.
people, if they see, oh, there's bag checks, I'll just pregame super hard. And then you have someone with alcohol poisoning in your bathroom. If you are like thoroughly like kind of checking the space and kicking out people who seem drunk or have alcohol in them, people are still going to find a way. They always do. So if they recognize your space as the kind of thing where they can do that or they can enjoy themselves in that way, you got to reevaluate. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I think there's cultural elements of it, there's individual elements of it, but also there's like broad how you run things as well. I think when I was maybe a teenager, my goal was limit testing in every possible way. But that was my pursuit of learning what it was to do different things in different spaces. I never would have stolen alcohol from behind the bar when it was not, the bar wasn't even running. But there were other things perhaps I would have pre-gamed pretty hard and had to deal with the consequences afterwards. Things like that where you want to, as a young person, you want to experience the things, but you're also not sure exactly how to do that with the restrictions imposed upon you. And those restrictions are there for a reason. But it's I guess one of the repercussions is the limit testing, the overcompensation, the extremes of it all become a part of it. And I think it's just part of the nature of the teenage age group. And it's just part of the process because we all have to learn somehow in some ways, which further necessitates the need for healthier run events and a lot of safety involved and having people willing to take initiative. I think the biggest thing that I've seen when it comes to the youth is there's less people willing to do things directly out of fear of being captured on video or consequences for not saying the right thing when something needs to be said anyways. Right or wrong, something needs to be said, especially to creepy adults.
Totally.
So like there's sort of this lack of action, but also a lack of initiative in different elements, small and big, that I think it would be nice to see the youth just not be too scared about. It's important to, when you see a broken thumb, something needs to be done and we need to take that seriously. We need to act now. Things like that needs to happen. But the bystander effect is very real, not just for teenagers, but for everybody, for adults as well. So
totally,
that's a big thing.
Yeah. There was an all ages promoter when I started going to shows, Estella Mays or E Originals. Those events were fantastic and wonderful. Something I really appreciated is that when things started to go poorly and she kind of aged out of the all ages scene, she just stopped running all ages events, and that's kind of how the life cycle went. And there was an unfortunate gap in time where there were less all ages shows and less spaces for younger bands to thrive. But like I said, they come and go. So I think that kind of life cycle needs to be accepted a lot more. I know so many people who are so talented in making these fantastic events that are promoted with like the coolest art I've ever seen, with some like fantastic young musicians. And I understand that can be a hard thing to let go of, but I think some people gotta let go, and that's okay, because there's always going to be more creative ventures to do, especially in event planning in Toronto. Like this is the place to be for that kind of thing.
One thing that I thought was very effective in the listening room, for example, was there was an announcer. There was the announcer. They set the tone for the event. They were able to communicate sort of rules and expectations of behavior and vibes and things like that. It helps the show kind of continue. And in a room full of rowdy adults who were all drinking, they were still successful despite some resistance at times.
That's great.
Getting people to kind of calm down and listen for moments. And I think if the announcer role, the MC role was a bigger factor when it comes to event planning or even putting on a show in all the scenes, in all local scenes, I think that would just increase the value, the consistency, the clarity of what events are and what people should expect at the beginning and throughout the night as well. But not only that, but it can continue on into advertising and posting. That so-and-so is hosting the series of shows and that person's voice is in those clips promoting other people's bands and knowing what the show is. Because when they hear a voice, when they know that there is a voice that we should be listening to when we get there, when we're at the venue. And it's not just, oh, we have to ask the bartender, we have to ask the person at the door, we have to ask my friend who's in the band. We should know. No, we just here have to wait for the announcer to tell us, like, cool, who's the band coming up? Are you excited to hear? Woo! You know, that kind of stuff gets everybody's attention, and it hopefully sets the tone for the night as well. But it's a way to check in with everybody is at the same time about behavioral things, about did everybody have the wristband? Anybody need anything? There's water in the back. You know, things like that are really helpful to know that there's somebody there to say those things, and that person demands and commands the respect of the room, which is really important as well.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I love the idea of an MC at events like that. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all? Would you have anything else to share?
I mean, I've got music out with Sabio and Problem Dog. Sabio is Sabio. Problem Dog is Problem Dog. Check it out if you think it's cool. Come to our shows. If you don't think it's cool, come anyway. Bring some tomatoes. Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on this podcast and having a good chat. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And thank you for your time and attention. See ya. Cool. Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice.